Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Laryssa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 93. In this episode, we'll discuss how to audit the marketing in your business. In the bonus content of this episode, we'll dive deeper into what to do when your business is feeling stuck. To get access to exclusive content as well as direct access to me and Laryssa, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. Hey, Laryssa, let's get into it.
Let's talk about this topic. I think it's really appropriate for summertime because that's when I just hear a lot of people feel like they kind of hit a wall a little bit.
Yes, definitely. I mean, especially with like the summer slowdown, which for a lot of brands that happens every year. This year it feels like it's very slow. To a lot of the brands I've been talking to, myself included, it feels slow. So now's a good time to audit your marketing. And we've done an episode similar to this before, but we really leaned on like our podcast and auditing our own marketing. So now it's like, let's talk about how to do it.
Definitely. I think we probably mentioned this in the other episode. The word audit is so like unsexy.
It feels like it has to do with taxes.
Yeah, I think that's why it's like, ooh, they're talking about audits. I'm out. Like, I can't listen to this. But it's just a review, basically, like a review, a deep dive, a study.
Yeah, it's just taking a look at what you're doing now and diving in to see what's driving what and if it's working.
Yeah, I think one thing I find a lot with clients, and again, why monthly reporting is so important, we get in this groove, especially clients where marketing is not like their favorite thing to do, or like they kind of are just on autopilot with it. And then they realize like a few months go by and they're like, oh, this thing like isn't really working anymore. I've always just done it this way, but like now I realize it's not a good way to do it.
And being a consultant, I feel like there's always like at least once a year where your client asks for a meeting and they're like, is this working? And you have to like have a big strategy meeting and think of like new opportunities and new directions. And like, of course, you do this throughout the year too. But I feel like, I don't know if you can relate to that, Laryssa, but like, I feel like at least once a year with a client that you kind of hit that point where it's like, we need to have a conversation about this.
Yeah, totally. And that's a good thing. I mean, you should be asking questions and wondering, how things are going. Because if you go like 5 years and you never think about it, well, your business probably isn't going to be doing very well.
And the stuff that comes out at like the ideas and the like shifts in direction and stuff that comes out of those types of conversations, I feel like are really, really great and powerful.
I know sometimes there are some hard truths in there. Like it's like, oh, now I gotta go do this thing.
No. I
But yeah.
It's a lot of work. I feel like I mentioned this on this podcast already, but maybe I said it somewhere else. But I just had one of these conversations with one of my clients and I was putting together, like, here are all the things that I think we should be doing. And looking back at it, I was like, oh, wow, I have to create a lot of content.
I know it's exhausting, but the good news is you can make changes at your own pace. That's what we tell our clients too, because we do audits. And I know when I present them that we're all going to be overwhelmed. Like the to do list is endless. We can always find something else to do, but you can roll it out like as you have time and you have, whatever 6 months left in the year, plan out how you're going to like make those changes.
And I find it much easier to have a long to-do list versus having this like amorphous, like I have no idea why things aren't working. Like that and like the spinning of your wheels without any traction and without that like grounded to-do list is much more challenging in my opinion than having a very long to-do list.
That's so true. And I see that a lot too. Like literal years go by and it's like, why is nothing working?
Yep. So that's why you conduct a marketing audit is you want to make sure, like always, that you're coming back to aligning with your business goals, that you know what's working, you know what's not working. We're always looking to enhance our ROI. So those are some of the things that would lead you to doing a marketing audit. Like, I'm seeing a slowness in my business, and I'm like, I have to like really look at what I'm doing and seeing what's working. Also, like, I'm feeling very tired and if like I'm doing all of these things, like I need to step back and see which of it is actually doing something.
Oh, that's so true. I know for me that ends up being a problem all the time with my website. Like I should constantly be auditing my website because I'll end up creating forms or like for this grant I'm doing, I have a page for that. But then later I forget to like take things down or links aren't working or like signups are no longer available and you just like forget about these things, you know?
It's an endless job. I just took down my services page, like I just hit it because I need to rethink the services I'm offering, but I didn't have the capacity to like do that work, but I didn't want people to come to something that I wasn't like fully on board with, so I just like hit
Yeah.
it.
And sometimes you even forget those things are up there for public view because like who knows how long ago you put whatever up, you know?
Oh my gosh, put it on your calendar to look at your website every quarter.
It's very important. I know we find stuff like that all the time, like broken links for our clients, like, oh, you just have like dummy text on this product page and like you've never fixed that. Like little things like that.
Yeah, or the banner that's like holiday shipping and it's like
Yes. Like
June.
Mother's Day collection in July.
Totally. Just to revisit the audit we did for our podcast, which we did live here in episode number 78. But we came up with a lot of ideas. We brainstormed some ideas. We looked at kind of what's working. And the big takeaway and what we ended up putting our focus on was Instagram and an idea of collaboration. So we have a report that we can share with everyone, but the numbers have gone up quite a bit in terms of our reach, and that's like a big thing to say, I think, with Instagram right now is to see an increase in followers. We've increased well over 100 followers since we kind of put into action this new Instagram plan. Our reach has tripled, I
Liz,
think.
I'm looking at this live real time with you. Like I haven't looked at this yet. And I have to say, if this was one of my clients and I was seeing numbers like this, I would be emailing them and telling them, amazing, great job. This is really good. And so I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it's a good report. The things that I would say, and we'll share this link in the show notes because I created it to be shareable. I haven't done the email section yet. So, well, not to get my head ahead of myself. I'll get to that in a second. But I'd say the biggest concern I have with this report is the fact that our impressions and reach and followers have all gone up, but we're still looking at a pretty similar profile views. So the second month of this new strategy, which we're in month 4 now, our profile views did go up. They about doubled. And oh, they did double. And it stayed steady for the next 3 months. So the past few months it stayed
Yeah.
steady. And I'd
And the
say that
website clicks too.
website clicks too. So those are the two things that I'd be like, okay, well, that's not great. We need to focus on, if we're getting more people to look at our profile, how do we get them to click to our website? How do we get them to, come from a post that they're seeing in their feed to look at our profile to find out more about what we do? So we want to look at our main profile page of our Instagram probably, and kind of take a look at those things. So
Yeah. And what Liz is doing right now is an example of like, okay, you don't just look at the report. You have to kind of be a detective about it. Like, all right, what looks like it's going up? What looks like it's going down? What looks like it's staying the same? And like, where can I kind of take that information to make changes?
And I think one of our goals that we talked about when we did our audit was more engagement, like focus on more engagement. And we're seeing that a little bit in terms of interactions, but not when it comes to story interactions. So that's something maybe we want to put more focus on, is like asking more questions or encouraging people to engage with us more in our DMs.
Yes, asking for replies.
Mm-hmm. We need to ask for replies. But so the other thing that we really focused on that's worked very well, I think, is collaboration. So going on other podcasts. Like we were just on the Brilliant Slow Made podcast, and then Christine is going to be on our podcast. So, doing things like that, also having some great guests like 1,000 Facets and Okay Fine and all of the great people we've been interviewing, and we have some more great interviews coming out, like that is really leading to more people discovering us.
Mm-hmm. That's such a good point. I know people, I think we talk about collaborations all the time, but I think it's hard to put like a convincing argument behind it unless you're speaking in numbers like this. And yes, Liz has done an amazing job with the Instagram, but I think part of that is also having this cross promotion with other people too.
Definitely. I think that another missing link, something that we need to work on going forward, is growing our email list, which we did grow it by 2 subscribers in the past
Yeah.
couple. So yay.
Yeah, the email list we've been neglecting a little bit, but you gotta start where you can.
Start where you can. And then also just engaging our community. So we offer this community. We have a free version, we have our insider version. Insiders get extended episodes and things like that, but we need to think about how we can engage people more there. So I think that's another thing that we're missing out on right now.
I think, Liz, speaking out loud, since we're auditing, we need some kind of like lead magnet automation to get people to sign up that really like welcomes them into our world and gives them something of value that they would like experience by being part of our community.
That is so true. And I've been thinking a lot about lead magnets. I feel like I'm endlessly thinking about lead magnets because they are really important. I think in like the space that we work with, like artists and designers, it's hard to come up with a good lead magnet. For us, the podcast, we could come up with something like maybe we could do like your email 101 guide or something like that, like when you sign up for our list or something like that, or biggest takeaways from the podcast in a beautiful PDF or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas we could come up with, but I've been thinking about lead magnets a lot in general because for the designers we work with, it's tougher to come up with something.
Yeah, when you sell products versus services, I think it is harder. The default is just like a coupon. But we have clients that do like monthly giveaways for gift cards or like quarterly giveaways for like a product. One of my client gives away like a charm every quarter or something like that.
Oh, that's fun.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. Yeah, but that's such a good point. I'm gonna make a note. Need to come up with a lead magnet.
Yeah, we need to incentivize getting people to sign up and not just that, but like we were saying, something that connects them to us and like welcomes them into like the world that we create with the podcast.
I love that. So we'll keep working on this with our kind of mini audit that we did for our podcast again and circle back with another report. My report right now, when we share it, it has our social media tab filled out, but it does not have our email tab. So that is my next project, and that is going to be our next focus. And we will let you know how that goes.
Yeah. And with the goal of growing email subscribers.
And just engagement in general.
Definitely. Even another thing we tried this week, Liz, and I know Liz noticed, she saw we're like switching up the format of the email a little bit too. So,
Yeah, so it's not always the same because you do get into this, it's easy. And I think it's a good strategy when you're trying to get started with something. So it's like, how do you get an email marketing strategy going? Like, how do you find the time for it? How do you like wrap your brain around that? You put something together that you can be super consistent with. But once you get very consistent with it, you need to evolve and you need to add more.
it's the case with literally every one of my clients. We start with something that's like pretty repeatable. And then once we feel comfortable with that and we understand the audience better, and even we and the client are like vibing a little better, we can start having more fun and like experimenting and going off the track a little bit.
I think that's such a good thing to just really reiterate and make sure everybody hears that, like, if you're starting a new strategy, start simple and
Yeah,
repeat it and
repeatable.
stay consistent, and then you can add to it.
Yeah, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel every time, especially without knowing if it's even going to work.
That's great. So just before we wrap up here, I just want to go through the steps of conducting an audit. You want to identify your marketing channels, strategies, activities. Like, are you doing pop-ups? Are you doing trade shows? Like, are you focused on digital marketing? Are you focused on email marketing? Identify every platform and strategy that you're using. And then also identify your goals and objectives. It's always good to come back to your goals. Gather your data. I think it's really important to report monthly. So you already have this data. And then you want to analyze it, kind of like what we did with our report. It doesn't have to necessarily be anything formal. It can just be you doing a report, looking at it, pulling out, analyzing it, pulling out ideas, and making notes, and then putting a to-do list together from there. You want to identify any, issues or gaps you're seeing, or like maybe you've been doing this thing consistently and you're seeing that it's not leading to any traction. Maybe that's something you want to rethink. Create your action plan, which is also like your to-do list. And then you want to repeat this maybe every quarter, or maybe
Yeah.
at very least once a year.
With the reporting too, I think as the numbers can be overwhelming, but even if you are forcing yourself to do this like semi regularly, or the more often you're forcing yourself to do it, the more comfortable you'll just start to see patterns. You may not know what you're looking at like the first time, and it'll just be like, okay. But if you're looking at it like every month, you'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why is this number going up? Or why is this number going down? And you start to just have questions about it and get curious.
That's so true, because looking at like March and April of our report, it's kind of like, okay, we don't see anything. It was like having the 4 months is what showed me that yes, we're increasing our reach, we're increasing our following, but we're not increasing like click-throughs to our website or anything like
Yeah.
that. And you don't see that until you have a few months.
Yeah. So don't get obsessed with the micro stuff too. Like don't look day by day. That's not, you're gonna like just make yourself crazy.
Definitely. All right. So have you audited your marketing? Let us know. Visit successwithjewelry.com. And if you love the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message or leave us a review. Thanks for being a part of the community.